Hello and welcome to today's edition of Extraordinary Outcomes. I'm Shubhanjan Sarkar, your host and founder of PitchLink, the buyer-seller engagement platform. Today we bring you the 8th installment of the ongoing limited series, Fixing the 5% Problem in B2B Sales. In this series, we are bringing you engaging discussions with experts from around the world on the elephant in the sales room, the abysmally low rate of conversion in B2B sales. Today, we speak with Vikas Prasad, Director Infrastructure Services, IBM India South Asia, Patty Pokarchak, Founder Small Biz Sales Coach, and Saurav Sengupta, Founder of Sales Design Institute. First up is Vikas Prasad, Director Infrastructure Services, IBM India and South Asia. Vikas has a proven track record of over 20 years with cross-geography business leadership roles in IT services business, service provider business, and cloud computing. Vikas has led large teams and charters in India, South Asia region. Over the last 10 years, Vikas has moved up to senior management role at IBM India from a regional leader onto strategy and operations and product service line development. He has been recognized as a thought leader with ability to contribute across the sales management value chain. Vikas regularly contributes to key publications where he draws his insights from his numerous successful IT projects. He also frequently speaks at key IT and public conferences on a variety of topics. Meet Vikas Prasad. Vikas, welcome to the Extraordinary Outcomes show where we are talking about the 5% conversion problem in B2B sales. Now, of course, there will be some outliers. There may be some companies who are doing 20% or more. I don't know. But generally, that's the stats. I mean, I'm talking to a lot of people. That's where it lies. What got us here?
The number of players have increased. Increased from a buyer perspective, seller perspective, right? And therefore, from a seller perspective, competition is increased, if I have to put it very specific. Second point here is customers have become far more knowledgeable, right? The way they used to buy and consume services earlier versus what they do today. I mean, and it can be the very fact that data is much more accessible today. Technology is much more advanced. And therefore, every customer knows what he wants, and he would come to you with a specific requirement, and he would want you to then elaborate and get into specifics of those, therefore reducing the sales cycle at the same time, not letting you build that relationship and therefore, increase the conversion. For example, earlier days, it was that, someone has come to you and you have, taken him through, there were softer aspects of relationship building. At the same time, you're talking about your product, services, and therefore build a relationship and convert that sale. But today, he would do that with everyone. He's much more, he's met 2-3 sellers of a different industry before he's come to you. So he knows exactly what other products and features are available to him. And therefore, it becomes very important and it becomes very difficult, I would say, for you to then grab his attention or get his mind share in terms of, demonstrating value in what you are selling. The third point here is, if you look at the stakeholders, right? The stakeholders from both the sides, from the team who's selling and the team who's buying, have gone up. Right? Earlier, when you used to talk about IT products, it was only the CIO who used to be the buying or the key decision maker. Right? Today, the decision is moved from the CIO to the CFO, the CEO at times, the marketing, and the business side of the equation is also coming into play when they're consuming IT services. And therefore, the seller now or the company B2B business now has to create a value pitch for each of these buyers, right? Not only sell on technology.
Right.
The problems that you have in terms of a lean pipeline, the quality of pipeline, you've optimized resources, therefore want increased productivity, and here the leads have fallen through the cracks. It's gone cold. We have seen that, the sellers bringing in wrong deals, wasting time on qualification. Your pipeline basically gets clogged and it's like a dead wood, right? And as B2B offerings becomes more of a commodity, The key is, how to avoid the commodity trap. That's going to be the key question going forward.
What is the way to fix this low conversion issue?
How do you look at the qualification process rigor? Have you really, worked on a better qualification? Do you have a rigor around that? If we do not bring technology to the table in sales, in qualifying leads, in helping the conversions, it's not going to be. We're not going to be effective. Whether we use the CRM data analytics tools, right? AI, ML, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, right? Classic example of how we can use that, and especially in the last 1.5 years when you don't have the liberty of doing a face-to-face meeting with the clients and looking at the emotions and then deciding your next move. You are all digital, facing the camera. So therefore, all of these analytics and targeted information which helps you move forward or helps you move forward in a better way and qualify better would help. The data part of the analytics and the targeted customer segments, is something which marketing should be looking at much more closer than what they used to do earlier. And the seller, once that happens, he should be focusing on rigorously qualifying that further, right? Is there a need? We are all, as managers, we're all guilty of only focusing on the outcome, right? Have you won it or have you lost it? That's the only two outcomes that we are really worried about. We and all the efforts are in that direction, but in the process we kind of get our eyes off on the lead metrics. What the seller is not doing well, he's lost so many deals or he's not winning. How many meetings is he doing? Has he really gone and done so many demos? Has he done so many proof of concepts? And in IBM we've got a very distinct way of going and co-creating solutions, right? We call it garage methodology, right? Wherein we go and co-create, get the client, get stakeholders of the client, we get our teams together and then sit together, lock ourselves in a room for a certain period of time, maybe a day, a whole day, half a day exercise, and then just figure out, what's the requirement, what's deliberate on multiple parameters, and at the end of the outcome, it is a co-creating a solution. We come up with a solution, which it's not that we have proposed or the client has asked, but it's kind of come out of number of different parameters which is discussed, deliberated in detail.
Sure.
So the point is, how do the effectiveness of the salesperson, whether he will achieve quota or not, is basically should be focused on influencing future behavior and not only on analyzing past performance, right? Lead indicators than the lag indicators. Now, some companies who are only offering table stakes and expecting different results, conversions are not happening. And conversions are much below the number that you're talking about, much below 5%, right? But some companies who are really taking efforts, right, and focusing on value, right, of what they're selling. And of course, making it personalized for the buyer, right? That's where it's making sense. Now, let me give you a very different example from a seller action perspective, right? I would like to categorize the salesperson making a pitch to the customer into 2 to 3 different types, right? One, from a information perspective, he's giving information, right? I can tell you, I can get you a lot more about information on what you want, right? Second seller is he focuses on telling. Let me tell you what you need to know, right? Shares his perspective with the buyer. He is, putting some context to the situation.
So giver and teller, yeah.
Exactly, right? And then bases information on some personal experiences, brings in some examples in the industry, some past dealings, etc. Right now, there is a third category, and that's what is actually the customers are wanting to hear. There is enough and more data together, data to access to the data, which everyone has, right? The buyer has it. How to make sense of that data? right? There is lot. So this guy would come and say that, there's a lot of information. Let me come and make sense of this information, of all of this to you, right? How do I guide all of this to evidences, right? Make it simple, over a comprehensive set of information in front of the customer, which helps him to make a decision, right? That's what the customers are wanting, and therefore, indulging in such type of selling would help the buyer to make a decision. Not only that, would also tilt the decision in your favor because you are doing it differently than what others are doing.
Fair enough.
Now, salespeople need to be experts at highlighting the product features and the benefits, right? They always do that with ease, but often fail to communicate the value, right? Which is equally important, and people should focus on doing that. Then, understanding the multi-buyer needs, whether B2C or B2B, the sales tactics, till the time you don't understand your buyers, first of all, you would not know what their needs are. And then how do you make sure that, your offering can allow you to tailor your pitch to the multiple buyers, right? Sitting in the same room. And it should be personalized to everyone. That's the key. That's the key in terms of, it's never going to close the sale, but, rather focus on an authentic conversation wherein listening and adjusting your pitch according to the varying decision makers in the room, right? Which earlier was only one person, the CIO. Now it is a CFO on the table and, the business guy also sitting in the same room helping or would have a say in the decision. Right? So that kind of communicates your value, builds credibility, and inevitably closes the deal. Right? So these are a few things which I would say would drastically, I would not say improve, but if we don't do this, I'm 100% sure that we would further dip on the conversion.
Fair enough. This is great, Vikas, and I really enjoyed chatting, and I hope you had a good time too.
Oh, absolutely, Shubhanjan. Good talking to you.
Thank you. Next in our lineup of experts this week is Patty Pokarchak, founder Small Biz Sales Coach. A serial entrepreneur since 1992, she helped co-found and run a software business, now in its 30th year, before opening up her own hobby farm and garden center, making it a thriving destination. Patty is the author of The Accidental Farmer, Adventures of a Serial Entrepreneur. And if she can be a farmer, she believes you can be anything you want to be, as long as you know how to sell and market, that is. I had this great conversation with Patty, which I can't wait to share. Over to Patty. Patty, welcome to the 5% Conundrum as a part of the Extraordinary Outcomes show. Would you agree that today the lead to conversion is around that 5% or below or slightly, but it's a low single digit. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. For sales professionals, definitely. It was a little different when it's a solopreneur, when they've got, they convert higher, but they're literally waiting for the phone to ring, and it doesn't ring very often. One thing hasn't changed is a lot of sales professionals are still really feature oriented. They go, hey, we built the better mousetrap, come and get it. And it's like, it doesn't work that way. It's they don't know their industry. They don't know their competition. They don't know the benefits. They don't have the stories to tell about who they've helped. People buy value, the results and outcomes, and they don't know that. And it's really hard to get through that. You don't need to know that you have so much horsepower, so much torque, so much megahertz or whatever. Nobody cares. Will it go faster? Can you help me do my job faster and better? I want to know that. And tell me somebody else. Tell me a story, because stories sell. So I want to know. I spent 10 years, selling barcode systems, which you think, oh my God, poke my eyes out, but we branded it. I came up with an off-the-shelf program called Barcode Facets for barcode asset tracking, branded it really well. We even had a birthday party for this imaginary dog. We sold millions around the world, 25 countries, made barcodes acceptable, approachable, I guess.
How do we fix this?
Training. First of all, the majority of sales professionals don't have a lot of training. They're given like a 1-day product focus. They're actually not given a lot of sales training. One of my life legacies is to make sales a respected profession. I now teach at my alma mater, which is in the business school at Ryerson University, but it's only the entrepreneurship faculty. Marketing still hold their nose and go, oh, please, we do a theory course on effective persuasion. That's all we need to do. They don't actually teach marketers how to sell. And because I say learning how to sell is not a spectator sport. So I've refused to be on a panel to spout out what a great salesperson I am, because you don't learn anything from that. You salesperson there, you actually got to say the words. You have to stumble over it. So role playing is huge. I find the role of sales coaching. So we've moved away from the managerial of you have to go out and sell. Here's your quota, bang, 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 lots of pressure, to how can I help you get your quota in a way that's not pressured, because I actually have a sign right over here. It says relax, okay? Because I need to be relaxed, right? So if I'm under pressure, I am going to really just go for the, I don't know, I hate the violence, but go for the kill, right? I'm gonna, oh my God, here's a live prospect. I got to close you. And it just creates unnecessary tension. So one of the things I teach is even as a, insecure, nervous sales pro, what I was 40 years ago, is I needed to relax, because I got to make, you're more afraid of me than I am of you. Okay. So I got to make sure you're relaxed and comfortable with me. Remember, some things haven't changed. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. So you got to know me. You got to like me. You got to trust me, because you're not going to buy until you trust me.
Right. So let's dwell a little bit about the trust bit, right? End of the day, in this global scenario where you are literally meeting me, I'm literally on the other side of the world, right?
Exactly.
And many a times you'll have a customer who is on the other side of the world or very far off, and you are extremely unlikely to meet with that person. How do you build the trust?
Well, that's where social media comes in. And again, it's a long game, getting social proof, which is your LinkedIn online resume, is having current recommendations from past clients, past colleagues, past bosses. So social proof is important. Your website, obviously.
How do you see the end customer, which is the customer of your customers? How do you see them evolving over the last, say, 7-8 years? How have they changed?
Oh, we've changed it from having like a sales funnel. I mean, you still need your sales process, but you have to adapt to their buying journey. Okay, they are way more educated. They've already done their research. If they're reaching out to you, you've got a 1 in 3 chance of blowing it, or 50%. Like it's 50-50. They've chosen a short list. It's up to you to show your differentiation, your value. It's up for you to lose. Like it's right. The conversion rate should be really above 50%, if not more, because it's up to you to show your value, ask the right questions. Where are you in the buying journey? What's your key priorities in this, making this decision? Who else is in it? Is asking the better questions, the deeper questions. Right. Which shows your industry, your products, the buying journey of where it goes. Who else is impacting this journey? Who do I need to present to? Who do I need to impress?
So let's focus on your focus area, that is small business. What are the biggest problems that small businesses have today in terms of revenue?
It's adapting to a moving target too. The last year has been, this time last year is like 6 weeks of inertia. It's like, oh my God, we're staying at home. This has never happened before. And sort of everything kind of shut down because we were in a state of shock. So it's being able to pivot and see what's your next opportunity. Right. When I had the barcode companies, we were in a government town, Ottawa, Canada's capital. There's two industries, government and tech. And when tech was high, we sold to them. When government was laying off, we went to tech. When government was booming, we went there. So it was a balance. You always have to be. You cannot rely on just one market. I call it the marketing F word. You got to focus, right? So instead of the shotgun, is pick initially pick a target, pick a couple, and then figure out where do you have fun dealing with, where do you add the most value, and then have more of those. I call it the domino effect. Is once I realized where I could sell my products, the right industry, the right job title, it was dominoes. I took on a couple. They were just a small business, and they'd invested a lot of money into different sales experts, people that I know and revere. And then they got me, and I have a bit of a twist. And they had worked on a client, and it was a VP level, and he moved and became a president at another company. And they went, well, there goes our opportunity. And it's just no. Now you got two opportunities. You're now talking to the president who loved you. He's one opportunity. And of course, he's been replaced. So you still have that opportunity. It's your chance to get in and say, hey, we've been working on this. Why don't you take on this project? So all of a sudden, they had two hot leads. And they actually closed 3 deals, what they thought were stalled deals, by picking up the pieces. I always say, especially entrepreneurs, they fall down in the follow-up. And most salespeople do as well, is they feel like they're being pushy or intrusive. And it's just no, they're ghosting you. It's just now's not the right time. So never give up. Just, elongate your follow-up. So if you do it every week, then do it every 2 weeks, then every month. Just stay in front, but always add value to that person. Oh, by the way, we just did this solution for this company that's like you. Want to talk about it? If not, okay, well, try again next week or next month about here's another story. I just noticed your company did this, the trigger event. Stay in front, stay top of mind, and eventually they'll go 6 months later, okay, I'm ready to talk, So I guess what I'm saying is don't give up too early. Persistence is a wonderful thing, and I always had that trait, persistent Patty. It's just ask like Columbo, the old, the detective. One last question. Oh, by the way, no for now. When might the no turn to a maybe?
Yeah. If you didn't ask, you don't know. If you didn't ask, you don't know.
That's right, exactly. It's about asking and just going. Don't maybe kill the sales process. Is that you pin your hopes on? Just I always say I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. If it's never going to be, let me know and I won't bug you.
Sure, wonderful, Patty. Thank you so much. This was great chatting with you today, and I hope that you had fun. And I would love to stay in touch with you and talk more.
Yes, for sure. That's great. Good luck with your channel, and thank you for a delightful interview. I love talking sales, right? Because it's a never-ending topic. So
absolutely.
Good luck to everyone there. Okay, thank you.
And finally, meet Saurabh Sengupta, the founder of the Sales Design Institute, a firm that is focused on organizing all things sales. Saurabh was responsible for scaling sales at one of the first unicorns of India, Zomato, over a period of 6 years. He was the 12th employee in the company and scaled a 30-member sales team to 350 plus globally. Before Zomato, Saurabh has worked in various sales roles in engineering, Larsen & Toubro, Sulzer, and consulting sector, Aon Hewitt. Saurabh is a chemical engineer from the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi, and a PGDM from IIM Indore. On to this session with Saurabh. Saurabh, welcome to the Extraordinary Outcomes show and the special segment, Fixing the 5% Conversion Problem in B2B Sales. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Subhanjan, for having me. It's a pleasure.
So let's dive right in. There is this elephant in the room, what we call the sales room, which is this 5% conversion problem in B2B sales. You are generating leads, tons of them, but you're converting a minuscule number. What got us here?
In today's world, especially if we talk about founders, and I think I will also include CEOs of certain companies who are not from a sales background. and they primarily belong to a product background. Very few CEOs in India that I see actually belong to a go-to-market background, barring few CEOs in traditional companies, as in insurance, etc., who have done that before. Um, I think this is one of the biggest reasons why sales tends to be taken for granted. And when it gets taken for granted, it obviously means that that amount of dissection is not done into what is the shape of the funnel, um, that is leading to the final outcome. The leadership team tends to be more concerned about the bottom of the funnel, the final conversion, the outcome, and not really focused on what's happening in the middle and the top of the funnel, as long as we're meeting the numbers. The day the numbers are not met for a couple of months or a couple of quarters consistently, that's when the dissection happens. And unfortunately, that dissection is not in the form of some sort of an intellectual inquiry. That dissection is more in the form of let's, change our sales leadership. But the concept of capturing data, sanitizing it, and putting it in the form of funnel, and then actually measuring it is not being done enough by the sales leadership. And I think it's purely an insight problem. A lot of the sales talent who's coming up into these sales leadership roles um, actually have not worked in a process driven environment before. I think over a period of time, I mean, I can understand the startups, etc. They're new to the market. They've not identified their customer profiles or their target industries or the size of the industry. Some logical way of slicing and dicing their target market and finding out who their ideal customers are. Right? And that ideal customer can also change from time to time, but being aware of that at any point in time. I think because of that, a lot of spray and pray happens. When it is left up to the frontline SDR to find out who is likely to buy, whereas they don't have any guidelines on, why don't you go and target X industry or Y industry, and why you should leave behind Z industry. They are bound to make their own judgments. So what's happening there at the top of the funnel is a lot of leads entering the top of funnel, which we know are never going to have. I mean, there's not even going to be a use case for our product over there. So I see a lot of those junk coming across the board on the top of the funnel. Right? So defining ideal customer profiles. In the middle of the funnel, of course, there is this whole process of discovery and diagnosis, which I feel young SDRs struggle at. As we keep going from SMBs towards large organizations, SDRs struggle simply because they are unable to put themselves in the shoes of somebody who's in a middle management or leadership role.
Right.
And the primary reason I think for that is that they have had no exposure to the business world, how it looks at what a person thinks, what a buyer thinks when they are in the leadership role or a middle management role, right? And at the bottom of the funnel is obviously a lot of negotiation skills and ability to close things off. And if you were to ask me to rank these three things, I would today put almost 50 to 60% of the my emphasis on the top of the funnel, because once that starts improving, I've seen middle and the bottom improving. Also, things like training, etc., take time to bring about the intended effect, whereas things at the top of the funnel can be fixed faster.
So, what would you be suggesting people do, organizations do, sales leaders do to fix it?
This is where again, our point of view comes into the picture, which is a sales design, right? It's also our company's name, but it's also the concept on which we operate, right? So I want to share with you the 6 elements of sales design, which according to us, if handled well, will be able to sort of fix this 5% problem to a certain extent. See, traditionally, what we've seen is sales is not looked at as a design problem. It's being looked at as a problem where you throw warm bodies and you expect some outcome to come because of that. Now, I find that as a huge problem, and we have got to look at sales as a design problem. So the first element of sales design, as we call it, is getting the sales process in place, which means the sequential steps which every SDR or AE is expected to follow, and approximately 70 to 80% adherence to the process. If they want to change the process, want to make any changes, let's sit at the round table, let's discuss those, and only then those we put. It's almost like a military kind of a regime.
Hmm.
Not to say that we are taking away the creativity because of this process,
Yeah.
that still remains,
Yeah.
but there has to be a tried and tested sequential steps that people need to follow. For example, one of the fastest way to pick up a tried and tested process is to get the top 10% of the salespeople into the room,
Hmm.
ask them what their secret sauce is, uh, document that, find out commonalities, and then train the rest of the batch.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, in this process, one doesn't even need to go outside, look for a consultant to do this. I mean, the answer is already inside the team. Right?
Hmm.
So sales process design is the first element. The second element is what we call as content and messaging. Right? Um, we believe that content and messaging again is something that is left up to the salesperson to decipher. I
Yeah.
mean, every new batch of salespeople who comes in has to decipher it on their own. Now, that is a lot of loss, right? That's a lot of frictional loss over there.
Yeah.
Um, what you'd rather have is, and nowadays it's so easy to do this. I mean, you can make audios and videos of mock conversations between buyers and sellers. Right? And
Yeah.
so all you do is you prepare an entire YouTube playlist of how your typical conversations look like,
Mm-hmm.
product wise, industry wise, price point wise,
Hmm.
etc. And just ask people in their induction program to go through those videos 3 times.
Yeah.
Right? So they get those typical impact words and verbiage on in place. I have personally noticed that not just people in our country, but globally, uh, people remember more when they see videos and audios
Yeah.
as opposed to PPTs and documents.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
So sales content and messaging again can be picked up from best practices from the top 10% of the salespeople as well as the sales leadership. Because you and I both know it that there's a certain verbiage, a certain kind of keywords, a certain sequences, which always tend to work more than
Hmm.
others. The third part of sales design is obviously sales organization design.
Hmm.
One small example that I touched upon 10 minutes ago was about how to split the team into 2 or 3 parts and get them to pursue leads of a certain size, right?
Yeah.
So the marketing and pre-sales team works on a 1 year horizon, whereas the account executives work more on a quarter to or a half year horizon.
Right.
The fourth element of sales design, which I would recommend, is to get the automation or the CRM portion right.
Hmm.
Um, Although it's a bit of a pain getting salespeople to adopt CRM,
Hmm.
but I've written articles on that as well. And one of the biggest things that I feel to get salespeople to adopt, and then fulfill CRM requirements is to adopt a CRM that is mobile friendly.
Hmm.
Right? What we've seen is a lot of people, and pre-pandemic, a lot of salespeople are on the move, and they tend to spend more time on their mobile. Mobiles tend to give you notifications and reminders as well. So,
Hmm.
people are literally interacting with their CRM just the way they would react with any other app on their mobile.
Right.
Uh, the fifth element of sales design is obviously the training and
Hmm.
education part. I feel I need to separate out training and education. I think a lot of emphasis is given in organizations related to training, but not enough to sales education. When I say sales education, I don't mean the tactical plays. I don't mean the soft skills. What I mean is giving people insight on how buying works,
Hmm.
right? So, for example, if you're targeting a large IT company for selling some of your services, what does the org structure of that company look like? Who are typically the key decision makers? Right? How do they buy? What are their idiosyncrasies? How does politicking happen inside the organization? So on and so forth, right? So that kind of sales education, apart from the tactical training, also needs to be there, right? So this is the fifth element, and the last element of sales design, which uh, is again critical, is hiring and sales reps lifecycle management. I think we will keep complaining about attrition, and that one of the reasons is that they're not selecting sales reps who are fit for the particular line of service, the line of product, this length of the sales cycle. You're picking up, the kind of blunders I've seen is, and I would call them blunders. Feel free to disagree with me. Um, Picking up sales reps who have primarily B2C background and putting them in B2B. I mean, to get the temperament of B2B takes a long time, and B2C sales reps I've seen end up struggling with that. They've always sold short cycle products, so they don't have the patience to follow up for a long cycle sale, right?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. So you get what I'm saying, right? You get the drift of what I'm
Yeah.
saying. And with hiring, I've also included life cycle management because nowadays we are dealing with a generation which tends to get bored of their role very quickly. They feel monotonous very, very quickly. And their life cycle management, their career management, their appraisals, their role design, their job design, etc., plays a very critical role in their motivation and hence, their output. So these 6 elements of sales design, I think, have got to be in place and in sync with each other so that this number can go up. Of course, I'm not giving a specific. I'm giving more of a framework rather than a
Yeah.
specific prescription.
So Saurabh, this is a great chat, and like like these kind of discussions, it's very difficult to close it in like one sitting, right? They
Yes.
can actually, you can literally do 6 different discussions on 6 points that you had mentioned there, right? So I do look forward that we'll find time and we'll talk about these again. Thank you very much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your coming and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you for having me, Sumanjan. It was great talking to you.
Tune in next week to meet Laura Cesari, the founder of the research firm Supply Chain Insights, and discuss how buyers have changed and how procurement is evolving as we return to our regular format.
In the last decade, procurement has become more of an island within manufacturing, and we have automated procurement to make it more efficient, but in the process, we've made it less effective. So our planning processes in our manufacturing don't really go into material buying. They basically stop with manufacturing constraints down to finite scheduling. And we're very dependent on MRP, which MRP is in the operational executional horizon. And so a lot of the, basics around aggregate buying, supplier development have been lost over the last decade, sadly. And, when I work with companies and I ask them to draw, the supply chains within their manufacturing organizations, most companies have a trend that they're starting to draw out procurement as kind of an island, right? That the only connection is MRP and that the evolution of the CPO against the supply chain leader, we've become much more functional, and the focus on purchase price variance will throw the supply chain out of balance.
We are still having ongoing conversations with experts on fixing the 5% conversion problem in B2B sales, and we'll bring in a few more episodes over the next couple of months. Time to wrap up for today. Remember, you will soon have access to the complete interviews and transcripts. Keep an eye out for the link in the EXO newsletter. And thank you for watching. Until next time, stay well and craft extraordinary outcomes.